Welcome back to our channel HD Ultra Rare Coins. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. We journey deep into the heart of one such remarkable piece, a tiny copper-plated coin that millions have touched, thousands have overlooked, and only a handful have truly understood. A coin whose modest face hides a story worthy of legends. This is the tale of the United Kingdom Elizabeth II 1 penny from the year 2008, a coin born during a transformation of British currency, a year of confusion, experimentation, redesign, and unexpected rarity. Though it sits quietly in the pockets and drawers of ordinary life, this coin carries a legacy rooted in centuries of tradition, royal portraits, minting evolution, and an era so rare it has become the subject of collector obsession. To appreciate the magic of the 2008 1 penny, we must travel back to the moment British coinage underwent one of its boldest design changes in modern history. For decades, the penny had worn the iconic portcullis, the medieval gate, chained and crowned, that symbolized the British Parliament. By 2008, however, the Royal Mint decided to overhaul the entire system. Instead of each coin standing alone with its own emblem, the Mint introduced a unified shield that would be completed only when several denominations were placed together. It was a bold, artistic, and deeply symbolic move, a gesture of unity across the denominations and an invitation for the public to see their change with new eyes. The 1 penny of 2008 was meant to carry its own section of the royal shield, a fragment of the bottom left quadrant, showing the curling edges of the design that, when placed alongside other coins, would reveal the full shield. But during this transition, something extraordinary happened, something that turned an ordinary everyday penny into a treasure whispered about in collector circles. Due to a brief overlap in minting dies or an unexpected error during production, a small number of 2008 pennies were struck not with the new shield design, but with the old reverse, the crown portcullis. In other words, a coin minted in 2008, intended to be part of the new shield set, appeared wearing the design of a bygone era. This kind of error doesn't just happen often, it usually doesn't happen at all. Yet it did. And it created one of the most exciting modern rarities in UK coinage. Imagine the moment someone first noticed. A coin counted, sorted, and dismissed suddenly became the focus of intense scrutiny. At first glance, it looked like any ordinary penny, still bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Ian Rank Broadley, a portrait used between 1998 and 2015, showing Her Majesty with grace, maturity, and quiet strength. The obverse was perfectly normal. No marks, no distortion, no hint of anything unusual. But then the coin was flipped. And there it was, the wrong reverse, a design officially retired before the coin's year of issue. A ghost from the past, a relic mistakenly printed into the future. For everyday people, the difference might not have seemed important. But for collectors, especially those who follow HD ultra rare coins and understand the extraordinary value of minting anomalies, this was a moment of electrifying discovery. A transitional error. A misalignment of minting plans. A coin that should not exist, and because of that, a coin that carries extraordinary value. But the 2008 1 penny story does not end with the error itself. To truly grasp what makes this coin so special, we must explore the long journey of the British penny, a denomination older than the kingdom itself. The penny traces its origins back over 1,300 years, to Anglo-Saxon times, when silver pennies served as the foundation of English commerce. Through wars, dynasties, plagues, and revolutions, the penny remained steadfast, adapting to each era. It survived monarchs from Ethelstan to Elizabeth II. It witnessed the rise of Britain as a global power. And when the UK transitioned from pre-decimal to decimal coinage in 1971, the penny transformed once again, shrinking from a substantial bronze coin to a lighter, copper-plated steel piece we know today. By 2008, the penny was more than currency. It was history in the palm of your hand. And during that transformative redesign year, when the Royal Mint was replacing old dies and implementing new ones across millions of coins, it was almost inevitable that a moment of overlap, a flicker of mistiming, or a single machine fed the wrong die could create a mistake. But what was unexpected was how few such coins emerged. Only a very small number of 2008 old reverse pennies are known to exist. Some say a few thousand slipped into circulation. Others believe the real number is far lower. Because the UK mints massive quantities of low-denomination coins, often hundreds of millions, detecting small pockets of errors becomes nearly impossible. Many of these coins were spent, dropped, lost, buried in jars, or thrown into donations long before anyone noticed something unusual about the year to design this match. That scarcity is what now fuels the mystique and market value. Because once an error coin escapes into the world, there is no way to track it. No way to know whether it still exists. No way to estimate how many have been melted down, forgotten, or remain unknown in someone's drawer. The design itself is a marvel of its time. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II appears with the poise that defined her middle-reign portraiture: crown, earring, hair styled with precision, gaze forward. The detail of the engraving remains crisp even on low-denomination coins, a testament to the Royal Mint's craftsmanship. Around her image reads, Elizabeth II DG Reg. F.D. Meaning, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, along with the year 2008. Top 2. We are diving deep into the remarkable and surprising journey of this everyday-looking coin that has risen to become one of the most sought-after pieces in modern British numismatics. Our story begins in the late 1990s, a time of transition and subtle but meaningful change across the United Kingdom. The monarchy was steady under Queen Elizabeth II, and the Royal Mint was in full operation, producing millions of coins to fuel a rapidly modernizing economy. Coins like the 1-pence piece were considered nothing more than daily essentials, objects used to buy a sweet, make exact change on a bus fare, or roll around in children's piggy banks. Yet 1998 stands out in the timeline of British coinage for reasons most people never noticed. It was a year of experimentation, recalibration, and quiet adjustments behind the scenes at the Royal Mint. When collectors look back at coins from this era, they aren't just examining the metal itself. They're studying the political atmosphere, the economic climate, and even the technological advancements that influenced how the Royal Mint did its work. In 1998, the penny still carried the classic badge of honor, the crown portcullis with chains, the symbol of the Palace of Westminster, a design deeply rooted in British history and representing centuries of governance and tradition. This powerful symbol had been used on the penny since decimalization in 1971, and by 1998 it had become an iconic visual element of British currency. Yet as familiar as this design was, something about the 1998 penny quietly set it apart. To the average person, it looked exactly like all the pennies before it: brown, metallic, simple. But collectors, especially the experienced ones who study coins not with the eyes but with a kind of intuitive sixth sense, noticed subtle differences. They noticed anomalies in strike quality, minor shifts in the portrait of the Queen, and even small variations in color due to changes in minting batches that year. And so, the 1998 penny began to gain attention, not because people expected it to be rare, but because it had something unexpectedly intriguing about it. Now, imagine the minting process. Deep within the Royal Mint's facility, massive presses thundered non-stop, punching blanks, shaping edges, and striking the portrait of the Queen with absolute precision. By 1998, the obverse featured the fourth definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, crafted by the talented sculptor Ian Rank Broadley. His design was bold, honest, and unembellished. It did not soften the Queen's features nor hide the natural signs of aging, and many collectors praised the portrait for its realism. The introduction of this portrait in 1998 coincided with the very coin we're discussing. Collectors began noticing that not all 1998 pennies carried the same sharpness in this new portrait. Some strikes had exceptional detail, particularly around the Queen's hair and crown, while others showed lighter impressions. These variations, while normal for high-volume minting, became key identifiers for collectors seeking the finest examples. And when a coin has traits that vary widely within the same year, it creates the perfect environment for rarity to grow. But strike variations weren't the only thing giving the 1998 penny its mystique. The Royal Mint that year was also transitioning between different bronze alloy mixes, causing slight differences in coloration and tone among the coins. Some pieces appear with a deeper reddish luster, almost copper-like, while others have a duller brown finish. Again, these are tiny differences, but in the world of numismatics, tiny differences often become the foundation for major value. Even more interesting are the reports from collectors worldwide who have held 1998 pennies with unusual weight differences. While most weigh 3.56 grams, a small number are slightly lighter or heavier due to experimental blank batches used that year. Such anomalies, though incredibly scarce, are what fuel the kind of excitement that sends a simple penny skyrocketing in value. But rarity alone isn't enough to make a coin legendary. A coin must have a story, something that ties it to the era it was created in, something that connects it emotionally to collectors. And the 1998 penny has just that. The late 1990s were a time of rapid social change. Technology was accelerating, traditions were being reconsidered, and the monarchy was undergoing a shift in public perception. Queen Elizabeth II had just completed 45 years on the throne. Her face had appeared on billions of coins, but in 1998, Rank Broadley's new portrait marked a more modern and human representation of the Queen. Collectors often say that this portrait symbolized the transition between the old and the new, a fitting theme for the era. As the years went by, people spent these pennies without paying attention. They clinked in pockets, slid across store counters, and ended up in jars and drawers. But collectors don't forget. They study, research, and document. And soon, the 1998 penny earned a reputation for being one of the hardest modern pennies to find in pristine, untouched condition. This scarcity wasn't due to low mintage numbers. The Royal Mint struck millions, but rather, the public never saw reason to save them. Very few were preserved in mint state quality, making high-grade examples astonishingly rare today. Collectors with sharp eyes began hunting for them. Coin dealers started listing any high-quality 1998 penny with rising interest. Auctions saw competitive bidding. And slowly, the 1998 penny became something of a holy grail among modern British pennies, a coin that hides in plain sight, yet is nearly impossible to find in perfect condition. Top 3. Where tiny treasures reveal massive stories. Sit back, relax, and let me take you deep into the mystery, history, and magic of a humble penny that hides a value far beyond imagination. It begins in the early 2000s, a period when modern British coinage was transforming quietly behind the scenes. The Royal Mint, always meticulous and precise, was navigating changing demands, updated technologies, and the expectations of millions who handle coins daily. In 2005, the penny was nothing unusual at first glance, just another common piece of circulating currency. Billions had been minted throughout the decades, and most people didn't give them a second thought. After all, what can a single penny be worth? But what if I told you that within the vast river of ordinary coins, a rare, almost mythical variety emerged, one that would later ignite the curiosity of collectors and ultimately rise to become one of the most hunted modern coins in the UK? To understand why this 2005 penny matters, we must travel back to the moment it was crafted. Picture this: inside the Royal Mint facility, the sound of presses echoes across the room, mechanical, rhythmic, precise. Sheets of metal are punched and transformed into blank discs. These blanks, perfectly cut and polished, are then fed into dies engraved with designs approved by the monarchy. In 2005, the obverse of the penny showcased the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the fourth definitive portrait created by sculptor Ian Rank Broadley. This design was introduced in 1998 and remained the face of UK coinage for nearly 2 decades. Collectors admire this portrait for its realism, sharper lines, and the confident, dignified expression of Her Majesty, symbolizing continuity in an ever-changing world. On the reverse of the 2005 penny sits the iconic crown portcullis, the historic symbol of Parliament. A design first introduced in decimal coinage in 1971, it links modern British currency to centuries of political and architectural heritage. This portcullis, with its medieval character and royal crown, paints a story of tradition and governance. Although many people have seen it countless times, few truly appreciate the artistry encoded in its lines. The combination of the Queen's portrait and the portcullis makes the penny instantly recognizable, a small piece of metal representing both the monarch and the nation. For most collectors, the 2005 penny appears ordinary on the surface. But deep in the world of numismatics, whispers began circulating about an unusual variety, an elusive Ms. strike connected to this particular year. Some 2005 pennies were discovered with unexpected details, faint doubling around the lettering, unusual spacing around the portcullis gate, and extremely crisp edges indicating a limited, possibly experimental strike. These were not mass-produced anomalies. They were limited, fleeting, and mostly unnoticed at the time. Only later, when coin enthusiasts began digging deeper, did the value of these special 2005 pennies rise sharply. Think of the millions who handled this coin unknowingly: shoppers, shopkeepers, children saving pennies in jars, commuters paying bus fares. Any one of them may have touched a fortune without ever realizing it. That's the extraordinary thing about coin collecting. Wealth sometimes hides in plain sight, disguised as something dull and ordinary, waiting only for the right eyes to notice. The Royal Mint never publicly confirmed the exact number of unique 2005 penny varieties, but collectors agree that they are surprisingly few. Most were lost in circulation, damaged, or simply overlooked. Over time, as more coins were melted, destroyed, or removed from daily use, the true survivors shrank to a tiny pool. A handful of pristine examples, coins with fully sharp strike details, untouched fields, and clear anomalies, became sought after, raising their rarity far above the expectations of a modern penny. Now imagine the journey of one of these rare 2005 pennies as if it were a character in its own epic story. It begins fresh off the press, brilliant and uncirculated. It clinks into a bin with thousands of others, a tiny copper-plated steel disc with a future no one could guess. It enters circulation, slipping into a cashier's drawer, then into someone's pocket, then into the shadows of a forgotten purse. Maybe it spends years traveling unnoticed from one hand to another. Then one day, perhaps a collector inspecting loose change pauses, squints, turns it under the light, and notices something different. Something special. Something rare. And just like that, the coin's value changes forever. Collectors value the 2005 penny for more than just rarity. They value its story. The final years of Elizabeth II's earlier portraits carry a certain nostalgia, as they represent an era of stability and tradition. Coins from the mid-2000s also sit at the crossroads of technological change: better quality control systems, sharper dies, and more durable metals. Yet flaws still occurred, and it is these flawed or variant coins that truly captivate enthusiasts. The 2005 one penny is one such treasure. Many collectors believe that some of the most valuable 2005 pennies may have been early die trials, test strikes made before mass production. These are incredibly rare, as the Royal Mint typically destroys test pieces. But sometimes, as history has shown, not everything is destroyed. Some pieces slip through, whether intentionally preserved or accidentally released. When they appear decades later, the numismatic world erupts with excitement. Let's talk about the design quality, because the details matter. On the obverse, the Queen's portrait appears sharper than in many surrounding years. The curls of her hair, the depth around her crown, even the tiny textures in her dress ribbon, all appear crisper on certain rare strikes. Under magnification, collectors can see subtle differences in the lines around her jaw and neckline, suggesting the use of a freshly polished die. This is one of the clues used to identify high-value varieties. The reverse portcullis also shows unique features in rare 2005 strikes. The vertical bars appear cleaner, the crown's jewels stand out more prominently, and even the chains connecting the gate show enhanced clarity. In some examples, microscopic doubling in the inscriptions, 1 penny, or the date, 2005, sets these coins apart from the ordinary. These are the tiny flaws that turn a penny worth 1 cent into a treasure worth a fortune. Another interesting aspect is the metal composition. By 2005, the Royal Mint had fully transitioned the penny from bronze to copper-plated steel, making it cheaper and more durable. This is HD ultra-rare coins, where every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth millions.